A terra indígena Caru, para nós, é muito importante a floresta, os igarapés, os rios e a nossa cultura. Se acabar a floresta, acaba tudo.
Guerreiro! Vamos à luta! Defender nosso território!
The Guajajara tribe of Brazil's Amazon basin face many threats, but right now it's their own president, Jair Bolsonaro, who could wipe them out. They've formed their own militia, calling themselves the Guardians of the Forest. Regional government providing uniforms, boats, support. Led by Claudio Guajajara, they get ready for their latest mission to protect their ancestral lands.
Surgir situações perigosas. Então o urucu é sangue. E quando os guajajaras estão pintados de urucu, é sinal que é guerra.
Amazonian trees capture a quarter of all global carbon emissions every year. 60% of these trees are in Brazil. Facts and stats which put the Guardians on the front line in a war to stop global climate change. It looks like a private army, but it's all perfectly legal.
Catu? Então espero que todos, nós vamos fazer o trabalho de vigilância, que é um propósito nosso, né? Que é o nosso objetivo, é de nós proteger isso aqui para nós, para nossos filhos, para nossos netos.
18% of the planet's biggest rainforest has been lost in the past 40 years to logging and farming. The world of white industry pushes right up against the pristine Indian lands. The Guajajara and their forest now face a threat greater than any before. This sign designating this land as an indigenous reserve was shot up just 2 weeks ago. The Guardians tell us they are armed for their own protection. Because even in the last few months, the illegal land grabbers have opened fire on them. That kind of language got Bolsonaro elected last year, but now it could spell doom for the world's largest rainforest and the ancient lands of these tribes.
O Brasil não suporta ter mais de 50% do seu território demarcado como terra indígena, juntamente com a proteção ambiental, com parques nacionais e essas reservas todas atrapalham o desenvolvimento.
We've travelled further upriver.
Então nós vamos olhar agora se o que está acontecendo com esses caminhos aqui. Se é caçador, se é madeireiro, enfim, é um invasor.
Claudio and his men recognise the slightest signs of disturbance. In a forest where you're never alone, a Goliath bird-eating spider. Sure enough, they soon find a trail snaking away through the jungle.
Então essa aqui é uma caeira, né? Que os invasores entram para fazer um carvão, que é uma destruição também, uma devastação da floresta. E são os brancos ali que entram aqui sem permissão, sem conversar e sem nada e faz isso.
These kinds of charcoal ovens strip large trees from the canopy, allowing rain to wash away nutrients from the forest floor. This process is endangering the habitat of the Amazon's wildlife. Species like the endangered bearded Saki monkey, in a biosphere which encompasses 10% of global biodiversity.
So that charcoal factory is a hint, evidence that the Guardians are in the right place, but they're now back in the boats and in a hurry. They're moving further into territory where the tribe, the Mihua, live, who are uncontacted by the outside world. And it is here the Guardians seem convinced they're going to find what they came for.
Foi encontrado martelo, alicate, lima, limatão e que esses cordão aqui que é de medir.
So this is what they found here. Well, all kinds of stuff. That's a starter cord for a chainsaw. This is for roughly measuring the size of timber, the bole of the tree. Various tools speak for themselves. Chainsaw.
But the Guardians have been seen coming down the river. The word's gone out amongst the loggers. Get out before they get in.
Eles, aqui é de ontem, eles estavam aqui ontem. Se nós tivesse vindo ontem direto, nós tínhamos pego eles aqui serrando. É de ontem. Pode ver que choveu, ainda está aqui, ó. De ontem.
The bole, the trunk of this tree, and we're being told by our guides this one's about 150 years old. Swing the other way and it will have been pre-ordered. The customer the other side of the river will have instructed the illegal loggers to come in and cut it to specific lengths. And one other thought here, the jatoba tree absorbs more CO2 than any other tree on the planet.
It's a double agony for the Guardians. Of course they hate wasting this cut timber, but it's impossible to move and use it. Deterrence, the only consolation. In a bittersweet irony, the chainsaws confiscated from illegal loggers are turned on the felled forest giants.
Agora, com esse novo governo do Bolsonaro, abriu mais as portas para a invasão. A prova está aqui. Aqui nós já fizemos vários trabalhos de vigilância, já paramos com esse trabalho aqui, já com os madeireiros, e eles deram uma trégua, deram uma parada. E agora voltaram a entrar no território.
And all with the blessing of the president, turning the world's greatest rainforest into this. Just 2 hours along the river and the destruction is total, even as the Guardians try desperately to protect their trees.
But they're disappearing at the rate of 2 football pitches every hour, every day. 30% of it is, in theory, protected, but all too often that is just words and paper.
Claudio's life depends on the health of this fragile ecosystem, and the Guardians are committed to protecting their home for generations to come. These forests are the planet's last natural defence against climate change.
O cara aí quer destruir o de nós. Vamos lutar para não deixar ele destruir.
Alex Thompson, well, I've been speaking to Roberto Doring, the chargé d'affaires at the Brazilian embassy in London, and I asked him why deforestation in the Amazon has just hit a new high.
Now, what you do have, if you look at the month of May, for instance, in an isolated fashion, you do have a blip, as you had a blip in the end of last year. But methodologically, maybe it's not the best way to proceed. So instead of looking at specific months, I think it's more accurate to concentrate on the trends. And again, when you do that, what you, the conclusion you get is that we have a significant reduction in deforestation in Brazil.
Well, then in that case, why are the indigenous people having to mount their own patrols? You know, this is a relatively new thing. Why are they saying on the ground that illegal loggers are operating in a way that they had stopped years ago?
Well, I think it is a battle that we are all winning. We have, the legislation hasn't changed. We have very modern legislation to protect the forest and indigenous peoples, for that matter. And if there is specific statements to the contrary, of course we should look at them. But I don't really see any change in policy. and I don't see any change in outcome either.
So are the indigenous peoples just making this up? I mean, why did 300 tribes
Of
protest
course not.
in April? I mean, they are responding to a president who uses violent language towards them, after all. I mean, Mr. Bolsonaro, you know, was on record as saying he thought it was a shame that the Brazilian cavalry wasn't as efficient as the Americans, who exterminated the Indians.
Well, he also said that it is very important to protect the Amazon and its local communities. So again, what I would propose, I think it is more productive, is for us to move beyond rhetoric and actually look at what the actual policies in place are and what the actual outcomes of these policies are.